How far away are you from actually mining Bitcoin in the ocean?
So we have to. Nobody's ever built Bitcoin into an energy cycle. So we have to prove that out. First things first. So the plant on the Big Island was built actually to test the heat exchangers for F-35s. You know, the new Navy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the new military aircrafts. They're pretty awesome. It was built to test the heat exchangers that went into them. Mackay built those heat exchangers. And so it's this testing facility. So we want to test this out to actually constrain those numbers to a reasonable point. And that's the stage we're at. We're refurbishing it. It's been mothballed since the F-35 was finalized. So we have to, it needs some new parts. It hasn't been run in a while. It needs a new turbine. So we're getting some new parts. And we're going to refurbish that starting next year around, what is it, summer?
Yeah. Summer.
Around summer, we'll have the refurbish all done, and we're going to actually demonstrate the heat reuse, the Harmon cycle, the efficiency, and then from there, we will construct a component prototype. So what's nice about working, we're obviously going to go with the grazing concept. We're not going to hook this thing up to land. We're going to consume an Ouroboros sort of setup where it consumes all the energy that it produces. And so what's nice is we are going to, in this grazing concept, we can take this thing anywhere in the world. So we're going to go seek the highest delta T on planet Earth. And of course, that's close to the equator.
Delta T being the difference between the surface and the deep water temperature.
Yeah. And so in Hawaii, we're at the...
Just clarifying.
Keep up, Daddy.
We're towards the northern bounds of the OTEC zone in the tropics in Hawaii, right? We're 21 degrees north. And that's kind of the upper limit of, and our sea surface temperature year round is around 26 degrees C. And there's places that we can go close to the equator that are 32 degrees C. And so that's 6 degrees C. The way that, you generate energy is the amount of energy you produce scales with the square of the delta T. So each degree of extra heat, of temperature you have has an outsized impact. So taking a plant from here in Hawaii and moving it to the equator, you could theoretically generate 70% more energy with the same equipment.
Wow.
So of course we have to do that to make the economics work at a 10 megawatt scale. And so we're first going to construct, what's nice about the equator is there's no hurricanes at the equator. It's called the doldrums for a reason. Hurricanes don't cross.
Why is that?
Well, the Coriolis effect and the Earth.
You say that like I should understand.
Keep up.
Keep up.
Go on, Danny. You explain the Coriolis effect.
I don't know the Coriolis effect, but I assume it's because there's not a big enough temperature differential to create it, right?
That's this. How toilets spin one...
Is he right?
We're talking to Danny. So you know how toilets spin one way, and then this isn't true. The toilets spin one way in the northern hemisphere and the other way in the southern.
Is that not true?
No, it's not true because it's not enough space. Yeah, it has to be over a long distance. And so hurricanes...
I always thought that was true.
No, that's bowl design. So if it's true, it's bowl design. Bowl design is the more important factor in the spin.
Wasn't it like Home Alone or something?
Yeah,
Probably.
something like that.
Some bullshit.
But hurricanes do.
Okay.
And so this isn't the exact way, but you can think of it like this: if hurricanes spin one direction in the northern hemisphere, and they have to spin another direction in the southern hemisphere, just based on the way that the Earth spins, right? Well, if they try to cross, they have to stop and then turn the other way, which of course they can't.
They die at that point. Yeah, I thought it was that.
And so what we can do is instead of, that 1930s plant was built in Cuba, a few months into operation.
Got hit.
Now, of course, everybody hurricane proofs their plants, right? So that doesn't scientists tend to learn from their mistakes. Engineers especially learn from their mistakes. They don't make the same mistake twice.
So let's fast forward. You've built the proof of concept. It works. There is a desire to then build these, not for Bitcoin mining, actually to provide the energy source for Hawaii. But, Hawaii can be hit with extreme weather. These ships can move, maybe. When in the
Well, you
weather?
would just when the hurricane comes, you just drop the deep water pipe. That's the only part that can really break. So you just drop that for a few days until it subsides, and then you rehook back up, and you're on your way.
But so in those scenarios, you would need backup generation of energy.
During a hurricane, I mean, I don't know how many hurricanes you've been through, but my power always goes out in hurricane anyway.
I mean, I've not been in any. I live in the UK.
I was reading the other day though that there's some homes in Florida they reckon will be without power for weeks.
We don't.
Same with Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
I have solar panels on my house, and those don't work obviously in the middle of a hurricane either. So
We don't get extreme. We get a little bit of wind sometimes, and sometimes some like roof tiles fall off people. There's like a meme that goes around when it's quite windy in the UK. Someone will take a photo of like a bin that's fallen over, and they'll say, "We will recover," or "We will rebuild."
Or like a garden chair tipped over.
Yeah, we will.
well, we can
we'll
save
come
a
back
lot
for
of
this.
money
Yeah.
by not having to hurricane proof our 10 megawatt demonstration. We can containerize the entire process and ISO containers, shipping containers, sea fasten it to a barge, cut the platform cost, cut the engineering time, cut the stand-up time, the integration time by just basically doing Legos.
But apart from those like freak weather events, could this act like baseload on the grid?
It is baseload. It's the
Because
heat
it never
capacity
stops.
the heat capacity of water is so high. It doesn't get cold at night, right, in the water.
So like obviously the big problem with solar and wind is that it's intermittent, but this could, along with solar and wind, I guess you can't get that everywhere though. You have to be coastal.
Well, it is. So it's you have to be coastal unless, of course, you have super grids, right? Unless the grids of all these countries are connected to each other, and then it could provide inland as far as the grid. It could provide energy as far inland as the grid goes.
Right.
But you lose energy the further you try and send it. And
Unless you have to use higher and higher voltage DC.
what's really interesting is this is obviously a fascinating project. Adam Wright's project with
Vespine.
Vespine,
with regards to landfill sites, like burning off the methane. There's so many interesting projects.
My favorite thing about his project is he's created. I mean, Adam is a genius. He created an incentive for adults to pick up trash on a global scale.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get children, teenagers, or adults. I mean, there'll be a bin right there, and somebody will drop a cigarette butt on the ground. Imagine creating an incentive to pick up trash on a global scale.
dude.
That always just blows my fucking mind.
Well, there's so many of these interesting projects. My question or the thing that's on my mind is, we need Bitcoin, one, to therefore succeed, because you don't want all these projects being built and then Bitcoin kind of just like stagnates or gets overregulated.
Don't these projects, isn't it a self-reinforcing loop?
I know that, but like you got to win the race.
I mean, let's say if Bitcoin bootstraps OTEC because this is the largest untapped energy source on the planet. I mean, we're talking, if you look at how much solar energy the world receives, right? It looks at the Earth on a flat disk. And if you look at the distribution of area on a flat disk, with a radius the size of the Earth, well, 50% of the world's area is located in the tropics on a flat disk Earth, not in the round world. But when you're looking at solar energy, it's only striking a flat plane. The sun sees us as a big flat plane.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at the Earth as a flat plane, 50% of that area is in the tropics, and 80% of the tropics is covered in the ocean. That means that 40% of all the solar energy that falls on planet Earth falls in the middle of the ocean, where there is no industry, there is no human civilization. It's the largest untapped energy source. And, I think the best estimate done so far is by this guy, Gerard Niehaus, who is an advisor to our company, been studying the, OTEC for 50 years. He estimates that there's about 8 terawatts worth of this available in the ocean before you start cooling the surface of the ocean. Now, we're talking about thermal expansion of the ocean, so that may become something that we need to discuss. I'm not a fan of geoengineering, But as a last resort, that's a different conversation.
Is that sprinkling shit up in the atmosphere?
No, well, it's geoengineering. That is one way to do it. Yeah. Another option is iron seeding. You just take a ship, go dump iron, little bits of iron off the back of your boat. OTEC, if you start going above 8 terawatts and you start cooling, it's what we've been doing with carbon dioxide is geoengineering. We were just too stupid to. Well, no, we've known it would heat the planet up for 150 years. Shell, wrote about it. We have their
ExxonMobil.
We have their emails saying we should not talk about this, but this is what's happening. So simping for fossil fuels and then disregarding their own, your own BFF's writings is just silly.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just have to follow the money. It's the incentives, right? Of course, the fossil fuel industry, when their scientists discovered that burning fossil fuels increased carbon in the atmosphere and it was going to warm up the planet, they had an incentive to change the narrative.
Yeah. Like Kodak, when they discovered the digital camera, and it's like, this is going to fuck over our entire business model.
And then did nothing about it.
Then did nothing about it.
So if one of these plants broke and it leaked ammonia, does that matter?
It's a closed cycle, so there's no way it leaks ammonia, and it's not enough to do anything.
Right. So why can't it leak ammonia?
It's a closed cycle, so it's not like they're in big vats. It's in giant, metal encasings. It's not something that leaks, right? It's not like it's not like a tanker of oil that spills in a crack in the hull. That's not how it.
Okay.
So you're going to prove the case with Bitcoin.
Yep.
But back to the point I was going to make is that we need Bitcoin to be successful and increasingly successful because there isn't enough usage of Bitcoin now to justify enough ASICs to deliver on all these projects.
Yep.
So that's what we need, Bitcoin to keep growing. So there's an incentive to build out these units because there's enough, Bitcoin's valuable enough to justify this. So we just need Bitcoin to keep growing.
Well, we only need, the Bitcoin becomes sort of ancillary the larger this project gets. At the 10 megawatts, Bitcoin is crucial, but at 100 and 400 megawatts, when it's connected to land, it's just to, for curtailment uses. Like, when turns out the tropics where OTEC is useful is also home to great sunlight and wind energy as well. And, in the middle of the day when the sun is shining, you have to curtail something. And well, because of the cold water, the free cooling, OTEC at scale is the most efficient way to produce Bitcoin. It makes sense to curtail the OTEC and then just mine Bitcoin.